So today's video is going to be more about scouting than about the T71 itself, which is the tank you can see in front of you. This is an American Tier 7 light scout tank and is one of the auto-loader series of tanks, which basically means that you can fire off a succession of 5 or 6 shots in fairly rapid succession, but then you've got quite a long reload, around 20, 30, 40 seconds, something like that, depending on the tank you have. So what I wanted to do was just do a video really to cover scouting. Now, right from the start, I've got to say, look, I'm not a brilliant scout player. I'm certainly not a unicum or anything of that level, but I do understand that scouting is a little bit more involved than just running your tank at the enemy arty or the enemy base, trying to light up as much as you can, hoping your team takes advantage of that, and then dying in a fire. Scouting really, for me, kind of falls into two categories. One is passive scouting, certainly at the start of the game, and then the other type of scouting is being a pain in the arse. So moving up, you're not so much bothered that the enemy knows you're there, but you make yourself hard to hit. You pop out, you light things up, you pop back in again. You're not concerned so much with shooting, but you are concerned with being a pain in the arse and lighting the enemy up and annoying them to the point where they're concentrating on you and not your more heavily armored and heavily gunned brothers and sisters in the same team as you. So really, this is what I'd like to kind of cover. So let's take the T71 just as an example here. Let me give you a background of scout tanks, just in case you aren't aware of this. Scout tanks are always light tanks. The light tanks are shown in the tech tree as this little diamond here, just a diamond with no lines through it. So, for instance, the medium tank obviously has this one, and the heavy tanks have the big diamond with 2 lines through it. But anyway, what a lot of new players don't understand and find out the hard way is that if they stick to the light tank line, for instance, Panzer II, that's great, Panzer II-G, that's great. When they get to notably Tier 4, you then get into the Lux, or you get into the Panzer 38 NA, and then it's open season, because the matchmaker then will throw you into games where you're facing Tier 8s, certainly at this level. When you get up to Tier 5, I think it's 9s and 10s, and certainly 10s by the time you get to Tier 6. So if you're a new player, and frankly you can get to this Tier 4 quite quickly, maybe in a few days of solid playing, suddenly you're coming up against Tier 8s, and you're completely unprepared for it. Playing a scout tank well, or even half well, means you really have to know the maps, and you have to know spots on the maps where you've got good view range. You can spot a lot of the enemy, but you're not going to get spotted yourself so much or hit. And the other thing is you really have to know your tank's capability. So scouting is one of the most difficult roles to play in this game, scouting well, that is. So a lot of new players get to kind of Tier 4 and they run into huge troubles. They are not prepared. They've been fighting, Tier 3 and Tier 2 tanks up to that point. They try and take on these Tier 8s, get one-shotted. So that can be quite off-putting to players. So if you fall into that category, then please carry on watching, because this will explain exactly what you can do, apart from changing your tank type, to maybe earn yourself bucket loads of cash and experience without having to do too much. So you see the German tree, as I said, the Lux, Panzer 38, both very good tanks. The Lux got a buff recently, and it's got a very nice 90mm pen gun. But as I said, we're going to concentrate on the American T71, which is over here, Tier 7. Regularly see Tier 10 games. The gun penetration, I'm not going to make this a review about the T71, but I'll just give you some idea of the clips you're going to see. You've got actually half decent penetration. It's 175 pen on the gun, which, if you are familiar, is the same sort of penetration you get in the KV5 and Super Pershing, and a few of the other even Tier 8 medium and heavy tanks. So that's actually not bad at all, and bearing in mind the gun could fire very quickly. It's not particularly accurate, but its aiming time is nice. So if you position yourself well, if you're patient, you can really run riot towards the end of a game when the enemy team is fairly beaten up, their HP has been whittled down, and you can kind of romp around and just kind of polish tanks off, and again be a huge distraction. Now, scout tanks, the big difference between scout tanks and other tanks is that they don't lose their camo value when they start moving. So having a camo net on one of these things down here is really important, because the camo net, as you can see, it decreases your detection chance of 25%. It says it when the vehicle is stationary, just like the other vehicles, but the advantage of the Scout tanks is that they don't lose their own base native camouflage when the vehicle starts moving. So the camo net really enhances your passive scouting ability. And it basically turns itself on when the vehicle is stationary for 3 seconds or more. Because the Scout tank's strength lies in its base camo and not being basically not being detected, it's really important for the crews to all be trained up in camo. Another really important skill, which is kind of obvious when you think about it, is for the commander to have sixth sense, which is the ability to detect when you are detected yourself. Crucial, because if you've been detected, you need to move pronto, because everybody likes shooting Scout tanks, because A, you're an easy kill, and B, Scout tanks are a pain in the ass. So, yeah, very important skills. That's pretty much it, I think, because I'm not being tank specific here. Most Scout tanks, in fact all the Scout tanks, have no armor at all to speak of. This one's got 25, 22, 19 as you can see. So really, you just don't want to get spotted and you really don't want to get hit. Usual configuration of modules, that's pretty much it. Although, to be honest, every hit you get is going to track you, probably, and then you're dead shortly after because you don't have a massive hit point pool. So that's pretty much it as a background to Scout tanks. I'm going to show a couple of games now. One where I passive scout most of the game, but you can see, excuse me, you can see just how profitable that can be. And the second game is where I'm moving about a bit more. The game's actually quite a long one, but you can see just how useful Scout tanks can be if played a little bit cautiously. So here we go. Enjoy the games. Okay, here we go. The map is Steppes. It's a tier 10 game. There's 4 tier 10s on each side, lots of tier 9s. They've got a tier 8, but we've got 2 Scout tanks, whereas they don't have any. But there's 3 RT on each side. So this is going to be probably one of the most taxing situations you find yourself in as a Scout tank. You've got RT wanting to kill you, as well as a load of other big hitting guns. So I know the map fairly well, so I'm going to basically passive scout for at least certainly the first half of the match here. So I start by lighting up a couple of tanks there. I'm not going to be firing at all because I know that I'm not going to be able to penetrate the E100, and the Lorraine was out of my firing line for quite some time. So my binoculars have activated, my camo net is activated, and you can see on the mini-map, I'll just make that slightly bigger, there's a little circle around me, and it shows, this is the yellow circle, not the red circle, and it shows what my viewing range is. So you can see that I've spotted the E75, and I'm keeping him spotted, and I've spotted the E100 as well. So all I'm doing is by spotting him, you see that the E100 took a 500 and something hit there, which will count towards my spotting damage. So that's XP that I'm earning just by sitting here doing nothing. T95, again, I've spotted him. He's just on the edge of my view range, but he's going to be a priority target for artillery because he's slow and he's big, and he's a big problem in terms of trying to kill frontally. So RT, there we go, bang. So he's been tracked by, it looks like RT Splash, but he's used his repair kit because he doesn't want to get caught out in the open. He knows he's spotted. So bang, 573, RT hits him again. So all I'm doing is raking in these credits by passive scouting, sitting here. It's not very exciting, but you know what? It's going to be raking in the cash and the XP for me. And it's helping the team, more importantly, because the team have a good idea of where these tanks are. And if they know that they're sat back there, they can push. Of course, you need the team to actually take advantage of this information, and that's really, I think, where a lot of scouts get frustrated, is that they are doing this great passive scouting, but the team's not doing anything about it. The RT's not really paying attention, maybe, the rest of the teams aren't firing at the targets they light up, or they're not pushing forward enough. I mean, if you look at this team here, I think I get lucky, but a lot of the team are sat back on that ridge line on the D row, with almost nothing at the left-hand flank. So light the T95 up again. I think he knows he's been spotted because he's obviously got the sixth sense skill. He's moving, and he decides that sitting out there in the middle of the steps is really not a very good idea. Well, I say that, but the T95 has now decided he's going to move up the middle road, but he's still spotted by me. For me to fire or to move at this point would be a little foolish. So there we go. So the GW Tiger takes out the T95. And because I had him spotted for most of that time, the chances are I will get all the spotting damage on the T95, which is about 1700 hit points, so that's actually pretty tasty. So they've only lost 3 tanks, it's 3 each. It's a little bit too early for me to move out and to try and do too much on my own, but what I do, I kind of take the risk because I think there's not too much left up here in their base, and the T54 is moving up on my right hand side. But we light up at one of their T54s, so I want to head into cover and maybe try and spot some RT, which I do. There's a GW Tiger back there, but this T54 is a bigger threat and I need to help my T54 take him down. So making sure I stay behind him. I need to keep moving. I was hoping my T54 would be a little bit more getting stuck in there, but that's fine. T54 sets the other one on fire, so I'm now going to go off to deal with the RT if I can. But I'm very conscious that U100 does a lot of damage. So seeing what we're doing, the U100 is pushed up and our Lorraine 40 is pushed up now. GW Tiger's dead. It's way too early to start capping here because it's still 7-6, so I'm going to try and flush out the other artillery. I know one's down in the bottom right hand corner, the M40, but I need to know where the GW Panther is. I'm also going to go and help this Lorraine with the U100. Or try to anyway. So you saw then, there we go, there's the GW Panther, so he's now my priority target. Got to try and not get hit by him. Get in close, get around him. You'll see that the autoloader is very good. It reloads the gun, I think about 1.5 to 2 seconds. The reload itself takes, the full reload takes about 20 seconds, which is what I've done there. I've pressed the C button, which forces the reload. So the artillery is neutralised apart from the M40, but the T54 is going to deal with him. He sees he's there. And we got a good idea where the remaining tanks are. It's still quite close, it's 9-8, so they have an E100 right in our base, but we've got 2 very heavy hitting tank destroyers defending our base, so with any luck they'll be able to take care of the E100. So the 4502P, good tank, he's not paying me any attention, so I'm going to start sticking rounds into the side of his tank. Don't forget I've got 175 pen, so that's good enough. But he's turned his front armour to me, and also more importantly his gun, so I'm just going to sit here now and just chill. Just keep them spotted, let artillery do the rest. The same for that T110 as well. There we go. Good hits. Again, he's not paying me any attention, so I'll take advantage of that. Just keep the 450TP spotted. I've started a reload cycle, so I'm just going to, as long as he's not pointing at me, that's the main thing. So I'm just going to fire at him when I can. Nice. So they're down to 3 left. The E100 in the top, the Lorraine, which is last in the bottom right hand corner, and the M40. I wasn't looking then, but I guess our T54 died to the combination of both of them. So I'm going to push on over to do some spotting. There we go, so there's Lorraine. Again, just kind of poke my nose over the top, see if the RT's moving around. The Lorraine, there we go. And I think I spotted the Lorraine at the same time, maybe. Or maybe not, could have been the U100. So I'm making use of my speed now just to kind of zip around, try and flush out the remaining RT. Try and keep my transversal up, which is basically how I need to be travelling left to right as much as I can, so this M40 doesn't hit me. There we go. Gun's fairly accurate on the move, but he was quite close anyway. Scout tanks can be really difficult to play, and certainly, as I said at the start of the video, I'm really no expert with these things. It's I've played games where I've gone and sat in a bush where I thought I'd be okay to passive scout, and I just get absolutely vaporised. So, you know, I'm really not the world's best T71 player or Scout player, but I do have the odd moment now and again. I don't think that I'm involved with the killing of the C100. Yeah, I wasn't. Okay, so that's an interesting look at passive scouting. Let's move on to the next game. But before we do that, let's just take a quick look at the end of game battle results screen. Got a mastery badge for that one, and you'll see that I got 3,755 damage upon detecting. And although this is just a screenshot, basically broke down to the E75 1820, which is basically its full set of hit points. Must have had the stock turret. GW Tiger 235 and the T95 1700. So pretty much those vehicles all totted up quite a lot of nice XP and silver for me. Oz did just under 1500 damage to the VK45, the T54 as well, and also the T110. So that's actually pretty decent, as you can see. Okay, how does that compare to the rest of the team? Well, as you can see, I got actually the most XP, and although I didn't do the most damage by a long shot, I only did 1500 damage, I got 1427 XP, which is almost double, well, just under double of what the best player did. So you can see passive scouting really does pay off, even if you don't do a great deal of damage. Let's just take a quick look at the next screen. So here's the detail screen, and very nice indeed. So 46,000 ISK. I say ISK, it's actually silver. I spent too long playing Eve. 46,000 silver, and got all in all 2140 XP on a premium account. So not bad at all, not bad at all. Okay, let's move on to the next game. Okay, so it's mines, and the game's just started. I've gone over to the island. It's a tier 8 game. Not getting much support apart from a tank destroyer. So I'm just going to just do a little bit of passive just to start off with. I think you can't afford to push forward too much if you've got no tanks with you on the island side. Being a tier 8 game, there's no artillery. Each side has a smattering of scouts, and so the game could be a little bit more forgiving than the tier 10 game that you just saw with loads of arty. I'm kind of encouraging the AT guy not to push up too far. If they sent their mediums over this side, then they're going to make short work of that tank, as good as the frontal armour is. I'm a little bit unsure what to do at this point. As I said, I'm not the best or the most decisive scout tank driver in the world, but I see the Super Pershing pushing up. They're not the fastest tanks in the world, and he's got his sight to me, so that will do.
Looks like that one went right through. They're hit.
Nah, I should have waited and hit the T34 instead, but never mind.
Enemy armor is hit.
So you can see the gun is sort of accurate, but the penetration's nice. 175 pen is really, really quite tasty. So doing what we can. Now, luckily at this point it appears that I just took a hit there on the rock, so I think I was spotted. It appears that they're not sending much up over to the island side of things, which is great. So I'm kind of just thinking about my next move here, really. Seeing if I can maybe hit the Jagdpanther, which I can't. The AT-15 can though. I feel I'm not really adding a great deal of value at this point over on the island. I'm not far up enough to scout forwards, and I don't think there's anything coming over here anyway. So after having a real think about it, I'm just going to speed the game up slightly. Let's put it on 2 speed. I decided to push over and see what I can do in the middle. I actually end up being a lot more useful to the team in the middle than I was over there on the island, because the AT-15s at least can be our eyes over there, and I can relocate. Okay, let's bring it back down to 1 speed. So the leopard in front of me just died as I rolled up the hill. That's close. T-25 is getting out of there, so I really don't want to be taking on the Type 59 head to head. I don't have the gun, really, and I certainly don't have the armour for it. So the Tiger 2's taken up the challenge, so while T-59 is backed up, I'm going to whip over here and start spotting things, and as I said at the start of the game, trying to make myself a pain in the arse. Have them fixate on me. So there's a Yak Panzer there that I can probably hit through a little gap here. But fortunately, he gets a jump on me and does some damage there. So looking around, seeing what I can see. Everyone's become despotted again. Ah, there we go. Rush the shot because he was disappearing, and unfortunately I miss him. He's gone behind rocks now. So they're fixating on me, which is fine. Let's see if I can get a shot here now. I pull back just in time. I was never going to aim quickly enough. I think I get a little bit lucky with that shot on the Ferdinand there, 260 metres away, but the shot must have gone lucky, and I see this 59 pointing at me. Fortunately he misses, but I had my arse pointing out from behind the rock, so yeah, that's something else I need to bear in mind now. So the position's actually looking pretty good. We've pulled the game back, it's 9-5 now. This 59's stopped looking at me, so I'm going to take my time. But my reload takes just a fraction of a second too long. But that's okay, I'm reloaded now. So I got 6 shells in the pipe. Oh, he's pulled forward again. Let's punish him for that. Come on, reload. There we go.
Gotta hurt. We didn't penetrate their armor. Enemy is hit.
So I hit 2 out of 3, but only did damage on 1. So I've gone for the reload, and I'm thinking, well, again, I'm not being very useful here. I think my time here has expired, so let's move on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to push down onto the beach here. That shields me from fire from the left-hand side, more or less. I'm going to push up and see if I can deal with the Ferdinand and or the KV-1S that was last spotted in just behind the Ferdinand here was the KV-1S. So I'm going to push up behind. Hopefully he won't be expecting me to be there, and I can take out a potentially big gun from the game. A little bit cautious just in case. There he is, and he's not at all expecting me, so let's pump some rounds into him.
Penetration.
I suspect he had sixth sense as soon as he was spotted and moved,
Enemy is hit.
but
He's gone. Find another target.
I think fairly short work. And Ferdinand is coming roaring back, so yep, time to get out of here. There's no way I'm taking on a Ferdinand in this thing. He can't one-shot me, but he can seriously mess me up. Most definitely two-shot me. But I've lit him up, that's the main thing. Or I had, anyway. I see there's a Type 59 over there, and he could be potentially causing problems both for me and also for the AT-15. Medium versus a heavy tank destroyer with crappy traverse, I will put my money on the medium. So let's go and deal with him. I see that he's basically one-shottable if I'm lucky, whereas I can take a couple of his hits. He misses. He wasn't one-shottable, he had 7 hit points left. But I've got a faster reload than he has, so I take him down. Moving into the bush, just to put myself out of harm's way. Wait for the reload. So the Ferdy's still alive, so they have 2 fairly dangerous but low health tank destroyers left there. I need to, I need to help here. The AT-15 just took a big whack from the, I guess from the AMX. So what I need to do now is try and get around the back of that 30, which I'm able to reach very easily, and take him down. I'm fully reloaded. I can easily do 314 damage with, well, 2 shots basically. But I want to try and make sure that it's got his back to me. So he takes a whack from the AT-15, and it's just an easy job to finish him off. And that's it, end of game. Here's the main screen of the battle results area, and as you can see, credits 30,000, which isn't bad, and experience 3819. So not a bad game. Didn't actually do much spotting in that, as to be honest, I was kind of expecting that, just the KV-1S really. So most of the XP actually came from damaging the tanks. I was getting more stuck in, certainly, than in the tier 10 game that you saw. As you can see from the team screen, I didn't do that badly, came in second place in terms of experience earned. Again, wasn't the top damage dealer, but I'm in a scout tank, so you wouldn't necessarily expect that. In the detail screen you can see that although it wasn't a particularly massively high scoring round, I still managed to get 1273 base XP on a premium account. Obviously it was times by 3, so ended up with just under 4,000 experience. But again, it wasn't bad. Ended up with just over 20,000 silver. Okay, well that's pretty much it for this video. I hope that's been useful and has given you an idea of maybe how you can play scout tanks. As I said, I'm not the scout tank expert. There are videos out there by people who really know how to play scout tanks, but hopefully this gives you maybe some sort of idea of how scout tanks could be played. There's a variety of different ways, but I think you have to adapt to the situation and to the map. So for instance, on urban maps like Himmelsdorf for instance, or Ruinberg, I think your tactics would be slightly different. Less scope for passive scouting, for instance. You've got to be quite a lot more sharp, and I've never found myself to be that successful on the urban maps, but you know, your mileage may vary. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please maybe like the video on YouTube and perhaps share the link with a friend. That has been the T71 Scouting. I've been Bug Powder Dust, and take care on the battlefield. I'll catch you next time.